Hey everybody, Bobby Chiu here. So today I want to talk to you about 5 great tips for freelancers, and that's what I do. So it's specifically for freelancers. However, a lot of these things will totally pertain to just artists in general and probably a lot of just people in general. Okay, so the very first one is to keep in touch. Now, this is a very simple one, but a lot of people don't do this right. Why do you want to keep in touch? To constantly remind people that you're still around. Not only that, but to strengthen relationships. A lot of times my favorite projects that I worked on, sometimes that film never actually came out, and it was my favorite project because of the people that I worked with or worked for, the director that I might have worked with, and I loved his or her vision and things like that. That's what made it such an awesome experience, and just working with that person specifically, that made it such an awesome experience. And a lot of times it's the same for them. You want to work with people that you really get along with. If you know that you are going to totally get along with them and you're going to have a really great time, most likely they are totally going to hire you again. Now, this doesn't mean that you're trying to make fake relationships, fake friendships. That's totally not what it's about at all. It's totally about being absolutely genuine with the people that you really love to work with, the people that you really gel with. Treat them like a friend. Treat them like how you would treat your friends. So it isn't just sending them a Christmas card every year and best wishes on their birthday every year. This is especially not as effective because during those times, they're getting tons of thank yous and congratulations and, best wishes kind of greetings from all sorts of different people. I'm talking about just any other times is actually even more effective. Perhaps you won an award, then you want to tell people, hey, this just happened to me, is something that I was very proud of, and I just wanted to let you know. I hope you're doing awesome. Things like that. It's definitely not 10 pages of questions for them. You don't want to, especially if they're very busy, if they're very high in demand kind of people, you don't want them to have to look at your email and go, okay, to answer this email, it's going to take me a while. Let me put this aside and probably never answer it because it's just so daunting, so big, such a huge question or whatever it might be in there. I'm talking about just, hey, this happened to me today. I thought you might want to know. Hope you're doing awesome, and this thing reminded me of you. Or I read this article, I found this link, and it reminded me of you. Just want to say hi. Remember that time that we were working on this? That was really great. Something that is very non-committal, something that you don't really need to respond to. These are really nice things to send people, just to remind them that you're around. They don't have the pressure of having to write some big long thing back to you. Number 2, make a portfolio of the things that you want to do. Now, this is something that came around when I went to THU in Portugal, and a lot of people were showing me their portfolios, and a lot of people, they had gaming kind of portfolios. AAA looking art stuff, but when they show it to me and I ask them, what do you want to do? They say, I want to get into feature films. Well, where's the feature film portfolio? A lot of things with gaming design is completely different with live action designs, and a lot of times they are counterintuitive. So for example, if you're designing a game and there's a tiny little character that you're going to see on this giant map, you want to be able to know who that character is, not just who the character is, but you'd want to be able to know what kind of weapon they have and what kind of armor do they have and things like that. So all of a sudden you have these giant shoulder pads, a giant sword, and things like that, where if you were to design this for a live action film, they would say, no way. How's an actor going to carry all that stuff on them and things like that? And it doesn't feel realistic anymore. It doesn't feel believable anymore. So craft your portfolio towards those jobs that you want to get. Now, if you might not be getting jobs that you can, take the artwork that you did for the job and put it into your live action portfolio, then you got to do stuff on your own. You got to do stuff on your free time and create a portfolio for the work that you want to do. How do you get the work that you want to do? You just start doing it and you just start imagining, hey, I'm on this movie now. What kind of movie would you love to be on? I would love to be on a movie about giant monsters, attacking people. Then just do that, and think about what kind of things would they want you to design for a project like that. Before you know it, you will attract those jobs because people see what you can do if you're put into that situation. Number 3, don't be that needy kid that wants to attend everybody's party and nobody wants to invite them. Can you give me a job? Can you give me a job? This is a very sensitive balance between just mentioning to people that you would love to work for them and you would like to show them your stuff, between that and looking way too desperate. Okay, so I like to think of it as try to be that cool kid in school that you remember, always being confident but not cocky, constantly just being very sociable and very effective in whatever they were doing. That's how you will attract jobs. And when you attract jobs, you're put in a much better position than when you are asking for jobs. It's virtually the same thing, because when we attract jobs, we are still asking for jobs, but just in a very indirect way. We're making art, we're putting it out there, and we are attracting jobs. Number 4, find opportunities to do face-to-face. Now, this one is very important as well. I just did this interview with one of my absolute artistic heroes, Crash McCrory, who's worked on everything from Jurassic Park to Pirates of the Caribbean to just a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the big things that he says when he's dealing with other artists is that he's nervous about new artists all the time because he doesn't know them personally. So a lot of times, especially for me, living all the way in Toronto, Canada, I will make it a point to make at least 2 trips to California, because that's where most of my jobs come from, to make some face-to-face contact, make some meetings, and to kind of meet people face-to-face so that they can see who I am and what kind of person I am, and I can also get to know who they are and see if I want to work with them. So it's a great benefit for both parties. And 2 events that I never miss, one right now anyways, is San Diego Comic-Con. That's the huge one. That's where we got discovered in the first place, our very first year of creating Imaginism Studios. And the other is CTN. CTN happens in Burbank. It's actually happening November. It's going to be great. Tons of people from the animation, feature film industry, as well as live action, as well as some gaming. But it's a really fantastic event as well. Much smaller, much more intimate, and it's in Burbank. So it gives us a great reason to go and visit the other studios and say hi after the show or before the show. Number 5, constantly make time to make your own stuff. Now, this is something that we did heavily in the very beginning, especially constantly making art books, making prints, making all sorts of things to put it out there so people can see what we do. And now, a lot of times, that's what will attract jobs. And then we start getting jobs. We start getting successful, and more jobs come. And the first things that we let go of a lot of times is making our own stuff anymore. You want to constantly make time to make your own stuff, because a lot of times these jobs are jobs that we can't actually show yet. The movie hasn't actually come out, so all of a sudden your internet presence starts to tank as your jobs start to soar. A lot of times it's a really good idea to section out time in your schedule to make your own art, so you're constantly still doing the things that got you those jobs in the first place. I've seen it a lot, especially over the years. It might not hit you right now, it might not hit you a little bit later than now, but it might hit you a couple years from now, when all of that internet presence that you had that got you all those jobs in the beginning really has died off. And everybody on the internet has kind of forgotten about you. And the jobs that you were doing beforehand, they've also dried up. So it's constantly putting yourself on the internet, putting yourself in front of people, making your presence felt that will keep your name in people's minds on a constant and give you a nice, healthy freelance career. Constantly putting yourself out there also gets rid of a big fear that a lot of us freelancers have, which is, where's the next job going to come from? Am I going to worry about getting more jobs in the future? If you're constantly putting yourself out there, if you're constantly learning and improving and constantly just being a topic of conversation, you don't really have to worry about where's your next job coming from. It's more like, which jobs should I take and which jobs should I decline for now? Bonus tip, when you start making some good dollars and you start getting some good amounts of jobs, it's important not to think that you're like super rich now, okay? It's even more important for freelancers to learn how to save their money. And so from this point on to the end of your career, every time you get a raise, any time that you raise your rates, save half of that increase in your quote or whatever it might be, and save it for a rainy day. You know, not only will this give you security, financial security, but it will also give you freedom of choice when you're dealing with jobs. And when the jobs get less and less, it'll still give you that freedom of choice to take that job or to work on your own art, put it out there, and attract the new work. But most of all, the biggest tip is constantly be learning, constantly expand that knowledge, expand your skill sets, because with that comes more and more opportunities, more and more stability in your career. And there's no better way to do that to sign up for schoolism.com. Sign up for a subscription. It's only $15 a month. Get on a course, learn something, constantly expand your knowledge, and you will have a successful freelance career or art career in general. Hope to see you guys next time.